So my name is Brian Rose. One of the things that I'm kind of like doing with this channel here is I'm going to be exploring a few different things. So I kind of figured um, I'm making a lot of these models. I'm painting a lot of these models. I had just picked up some camera stuff, and so I was kind of playing around with some of the different things that the cameras can do. And some people were like, "Hey, you should totally, you know, start like filming," and people might want to watch that, you know. And I'd been filming myself painting for a little bit. Um, Through my actual job, I have to do a lot of videos anyways, so this is a twofer. I'm able to work a little bit on my hobby type stuff and learn a little bit about video editing. So this first project that I'm starting with is for the New Year, New Army, and so I picked up the Beastclaw Raiders. Because, like, first off, they're beautiful models, and who doesn't want to work on like beautiful models like that? I decided, well, and I used to as a kid. I used to read all those books, and like the ogres would show up in it, and like just like the way the maw worked with everything like that. Like, I know it's different in AOS now, but still there's that part of me that really enjoys this. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to be doing this New Year, New Army. Let's go ahead and you know, try these guys out, kind of to help spark. I'd been feeling a little bit unmotivated with my painting and stuff like that, so I was like, let's do some pretty models. So the main purpose of these videos is, first off, I was learning how to use my camera in some of these different ways, exploring some of the options. So hopefully, as this series goes, my editing as well as my videoing skills improve, because like anything, over time they're going to get better. So like this first video is mostly just going to be like some content that I put together of me building the Beastclaw Raiders and me doing the initial primer. So one of the things that I kind of wanted to kind of expand upon, especially with this project, is like a easy way to like describe to my family what it is that I actually do with this hobby and what it all entails, because they know that I paint stuff, but they don't 100% know everything that has to go into these things that I paint. So I kind of wanted to do kind of like, this is a novice approach to how to complete a New Year, New Army for 2021. So the first things that you're going to notice is I'm working with these Beastclaw Raiders. You pull them out of the box, you get the cool looking information with it, right? You have how to build it. So the first step is always exploring what I actually have on the sprues and what the book tells me what to do. Sometimes these the books get kind of complicated. As we'll see, like there'll be some of the clips where I'm studying the book a little bit, so that's kind of like one of those things you kind of have to kind of deal with there. But one of the most important like tools that you use is the pair of clippers, and yeah, is the pair of clippers, and then you want to clip these off. And then I picked up one of those scrapers from GW. You know, I do like to support the GW store that I have in town here, right? But then I also use, it's less safe, so like if you're a child, I wouldn't suggest doing it, or if you're uncoordinated, you can also use like an X-Acto knife that you can find at hobby stores. If it's marked for hobby, a lot of times it's more expensive, but you know, it looks cooler because it says hobby. Right, and you want to be careful. Make sure that you're always cutting away from your self and not towards yourself. You might see some instances where I'm not following that rule. But your first goal is to clean it up. Sometimes whenever you're cleaning the models, you're cleaning it of like lines, mold lines from when they made the model. Sometimes where like you just clipped off those parts. I'm never good enough to make it where I clip off and it's like perfect. One of the areas that I need to improve upon is actually the scraping part of it. A lot of times I tend to dig into it. You're going to use plastic glue. I like to use plastic glue. I had my first models that I ever did, I did in super glue, and I liked the super glue, except for it was always all over my hands. And then I started using the plastic glue, and lo and behold, it's like it wasn't all over my hands. It still gets all over my hands because I'm clumsy, but it's not all over my hands where like, I'm scraping super glue off in the middle of me teaching classes because it doesn't come off. But yeah, so I like the plastic glue. Plastic glue, it's one of those things of if you use too much, you'll muddy the actual you'll muddy the actual model. So it's kind of that like, ooh, how much to put on. I do like to use super glue for the putting it onto the bases, but I'll let you know right now that on these guys I really super glued them down onto these bases. I had like this cool basing idea that I came up with after I finished the models that needed me to use the they need me to then get them off their bases, so it like it's less fun. Not trying to destroy the models. I have been experimenting with pinning. You're not going to see any of that in this video, but through maybe some other ones, I haven't quite figured out exactly how this channel is going to work. Extremely new to like how to make anything work. So it's all kind of a journey and an exploration, and I'm gonna get better at this, and hopefully the content that I produce is enjoyable. If it's not, that's okay too, because it's something, it gives me something to kind of do. So some of the things that we'll notice is like I'm using like different well, the camera that I'm using is a GoPro, and so it has GoPro problems because GoPros are really good at filming action. They are not as good at filming unaction. So it's kind of that heavy balance of here's the camera that I want to use because it's what I have, and I think it does some acceptable stuff with it. But so that's just my excuse for if it looks bad, I'm gonna blame the equipment and not the operator. No, it's mostly the operator. So there's a lot of operator error, as with this. I chose the name Texas Rose Miniatures because my last name is Rose, and I live in Texas. So if you're wondering, well, why did you choose that name? It's because it fits with who I am and where I'm from. A few things that you might want to know about me is, well, like I'm a trumpet player, and I teach band. I teach middle school band, and so this hobby kind of jumped out at me because it's something that I can do that's artistic but not music, because a lot of times my brain is just full of music, and I've really enjoyed playing this Warhammer. I've been in Warhammer, I want to say 2 years. Yeah, I just popped up on my Time Hop the other day that I picked up. So my first my refirst GW models since 2009. So yeah, I kind of like jumped in. I used to read a lot of the lore, jumping into the games. I like playing board games and stuff like that. So this was just a full head-on dive into let's see what this is all about. And I've had an absolute blast. It's an awesome community. They do a lot of really neat things. So if you're like thinking about jumping into wargaming, you know, you should. It's a lot of fun. It gives me something to do. So one of the things you'll see me use is an airbrush. And airbrushes, I don't have an expensive airbrush. The reason why I don't have an expensive airbrush is I started off with a very basic and simple one that came with an air compressor, and it came with like a real super cheap version of an airbrush, and I mostly was using it for priming, and I'm starting to explore how to use it a little bit better. But I still use a cheap one. Part of my reason is I broke my first one. And man, if I had bought like one of those really awesome ones that I don't know how to use yet because I'm not, you know, real good at it yet, and like broke that, you know, like my tears would be really real and not very nice. But yeah, I ended up breaking my first airbrush, but this one was $20 to replace, and I've gotten a lot better at like knowing how to take care of my airbrush and doing these things like this. I like to airbrush with primer because, well, I live in Texas, and so, well, like the weather goes from last week I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and this week it's 3 degrees. So it's it's, you know, it's one of those lively things. A few things that you might like see pop up on my stuff is my dog will show up sometimes. His name is Colin. He's super cute. And he sometimes likes to hang out with me, and sometimes he doesn't. So he doesn't really like the air compressor, so like if I'm using the airbrush, he won't be around. The noise messes with him. And like I've never really been good with spray cans. I've done, you know, like I just always put it on way too thick, and then that muddies up the details on the model. Like as I said, I get better and better with technology and figuring it all out and making it all work. I'm a wee bit of a technophobe. Some other things that I kind of have an idea with this channel is to do some bat reps also with like my friends. Right now, the way that I've done with it is doing a time lapse from like the whole field of view. I like that because it doesn't take up a lot of space or a lot of the batteries of the camera. The only negative is it's not as effective of a tool unless like you know what's going on in the game to know what's going on. So other things to know about me is my main army that I play is my Space Wolves. There's a lot. I just really like the aesthetic. They have all their beards and you know, like crazy Viking stuff, and I was like, all right, I can dig. If it's just this project that I put out there, that's what I do. So this is my new year, new army for 2021. If you like what I'm doing, cool. If you don't like what I'm doing, like constructive criticism is always accepted. Like I know I suck, so it's Novice. But there's only one way to get better, and that's to keep on keeping on. Cool.